Roger Stone here. Every day you wait, your money loses value, but gold and silver don't follow those same rules. American Sovereign Bullion gives you access to a nationwide wholesaler network, helping you secure aggressive pricing on real physical metals. Call 844-272-2428 now to get your free gold and silver guide to learn how to protect your wealth with physical gold and silver, delivered right to your door or with a gold IRA. Visit ASBGold.com. That's ASBGold.com for your free gold and silver guide today.
Welcome once again to the Dr. Sky Experience here on Talk Radio 77 WABC, as I like to call it, and many would agree, the blowtorch powerful signal of 77 WABC, broadcasting from the center of the universe, New York City, to the nation, the world, and I'm quite confident, yes, quite confident, out to the universe and deep into the cosmos. Welcome once again to the Dr. Sky Experience for May 2026 with our bi-monthly Sky Report. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you can see so many wonderful objects in the nighttime sky, maybe even in the daytime sky as we talk about it here on the Dr. Sky Experience. And just in case you're a first-time listener to the radio show, the Dr. Sky Experience, every Friday midnight to 2 a.m. Saturday mornings, Eastern Daylight Time. And then we do another 2 hours, Saturday midnight to Sunday, 2 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Great information as you tell us by email, drsky@wabcradio.com. And the information that you tell us you like is from the realms of astronomy, space, aviation, and weather, celebrity guests in the mix. Why not stories of American exceptionalism? The main mantra of this radio station and its owner, John Catsimatidis, truth, justice, and the American way with common sense. So let's get started with what we call our Sky Report. And even if you're in the bright lights of big cities like New York City, don't despair. And other big cities around the nation and the world, there's still opportunities for you to see some amazing things in the nighttime sky. From meteor showers, rocket launches, satellites in the sky, planets, amazing objects deeper out into the universe like galaxies, star clusters, and so much more. What could be better? So let's begin with Earth's nearest neighbor, the moon. And how about that? In the month of May 2026, we're treated to two full moons. Now that's amazing. Sometimes we call those in astronomy, the second one, that is, a blue moon. But there's also some controversy about that, but let's go with the fun part of it. On May the 1st, at exactly 1:23 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, we experienced the full flower moon. And that's a beautiful sight in the sky. So obviously it's 1:23 p.m. in the Eastern Daylight Time. That means you can't see the moon because it's daytime. So stay tuned when the sun sets on that day. Do your time zone across the nation and around the world. This is another of the great beautiful full moons, this one called the full flower moon. And why not? Because if you've endured such a great winter from any of our northern hemisphere listeners in northern climes, northern states, Canada, you're about ready for springtime at its best. And then, as I mentioned before, the second full moon in the calendar month is mostly called a blue moon. Now what's that? Every 32 months or so, we get this phenomenon where two full moons are simply crammed into 1 month, as I mentioned before. The last time that happened was August of 2023, and we'll not to get another one of these full moon events, as we call it, the second one, a blue moon till December 2028. Now we know with the recent Artemis mission, there's been a great uptick in interest in observing the moon, and why not? So we'll be guiding you on how to see it best. But probably the worst time, if you have a telescope or binoculars to stare at the moon, is when there's no shadows. Now, let's not take away from the romantic side of the full moon, but this is going out to those that want to be more in the scientific realm. So we find out after the 1st of May, the moon wanes. So every morning as you see it, it will rise later and later into the night, and then earlier into the morning, as more of the shadow relief begins to appear. So less sunlight, more darkness, and more shadows. So we find ourselves moving on to last quarter on May the 9th. Then the moon continues to do its magic. It becomes a tiny, thin sliver of moonlight. So from about the 11th of May until about the 15th, we consider the moon to be shrinking, and it will be rising earlier into the morning until it reaches its new phase. That's on the 16th. Now we call that the dark of the moon because obviously you can't see the moon then, and you knew that already. So if you like the whole moon cycle to be complete, start looking low into the west-northwest as early as the evening of Sunday, May the 17th. Now there are some records out there of the thinnest crescent moon that you can see. Well, if you want to try it, make sure the sun is set. Binoculars would help. But there are records where only hours after new moon, people are seeing this incredibly thin sliver of moonlight. So you say you're not interested in doing that. So by the 18th, the moon's a beautiful crescent, and it continues to shine in the sky. But pay attention on the 18th of May, because the crescent moon will pass that object we'll talk about in a minute in detail, the planet Venus, the goddess of love and beauty. So on the evening of the 18th, Venus will be some 3 degrees south of the moon. That's a beautiful sight in the sky. Get out the cameras, get out the friends, neighbors. If you have telescopes, you'll have a thrilling experience, I'm sure. So then the whole cycle, as we know, continues. The moon then moves on to its first quarter phase on the 23rd of May, and then the moon after that goes into what we call the gibbous phase. Gibbous means egg-shaped or a humpback, like that of a camel. And the reason I'm telling you this is because more and more of the brilliance of the moon is apparent as we then get to the last of those second full moons that occurs on the 31st of May. Now, for the more serious observer, let me mention something. Parabinoculars can do fine to teach you about the many surface features on the moon. As you know, Galileo observed these dark splotches you see when you look at the moon. You may see a rabbit, you may see the quote, the old man in the moon, a woman on the moon, so many different things. These are ancient lava beds on the surface of the moon. So even when the parabinoculars get out a moon map, you can identify some of the seas, as they called them, magical seas. And one of the more famous ones is the Sea of Tranquility, where Apollo 11 landed. Yes, it did. And so many of the other big seas on the moon. But now for more telescopic observers, if you look at the very southern region of the moon, there's a crater when the illumination of the moon is, nearly full. You'll be able to see a crater called Tycho at the southern edge of the moon, and it has a bunch of rays, like bright lines, coming out of it. That was an ancient asteroid impact, as if the moon didn't have many of those. This one must have been a big one, maybe hundreds of millions of years ago. So you can see Tycho, you can see other areas. And to the left edge of the moon, when it's not quite full, there's a giant crater called Copernicus, maybe 60 miles in diameter. What I'm trying to say here, and hopefully I'm making it simple, is that you want to see these craters when the sunlight is just starting to rise, so you have a lot of shadow relief. So some of those craters you can look deeper with a telescope and see these magnificent shadows that mountains cast. To me, that makes the whole thing worthwhile. The Greek word planeteos means wandering stars. Let's talk about what we can see in our May skies. I teased it before. The goddess of love and beauty is Venus. Yeah, that's the bright object that you see in the northwest just after sunset. You can tell your friends and neighbors that you heard it here on the Dr. Sky Experience. It's not a UFO, it's not an airplane. But don't laugh. That object, the planet Venus, gets reported more often as being a UAP, an unidentified aerial phenomenon, the new name for UFOs, than any other object in the sky, especially when it's now about to set. Because the sunlight that's still left, that's shining, of course, on Venus, and its low altitude makes it look like it's shimmering or blinking in the sky. But you're not fooled, because you heard the truth here on the Dr. Sky Experience. As I mentioned before, on the 18th, the moon and Venus have a beautiful conjunction in the sky. But what other planets are visible? Look nearly overhead at sunset. That bright object that you see is mighty Jupiter, the largest planet of the solar system. You knew that from school. Now, well over 500 and about 550 million miles away, and in the telescope, you can do the experiment that Galileo did, they said, back on January 7th of 1610, when he observed 3 or 4 of these small little star-like objects, which we now know as the primary Galilean satellites, Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. Now let's go to the morning sky, because things are going to become more interesting as we move on. We find out that as you look into the early morning sky, on the morning of the 13th, the moon will pass just about 6 degrees north of the planet Saturn. That's the object that you're seeing. Now, Saturn hasn't been all that amazing to see right now this year because its rings are about edge on, but they'll start opening up. But the beauty of the naked eye view, when you see that, let's say, on the morning, as I mentioned before, the 13th, just before dawn. One big event that's going to take place is in the realm of meteor showers. Now, this one might get a little bit wiped out, and I say wiped out because of moonlight. But on the morning of the 6th, if you look into the southeast sky after midnight till dawn, the Eta Aquarid meteor shower comes from the star Eta Aquarid, which is the constellation Aquarius, the water bear. Out in that region of the sky, for people who have dark skies, you may get to see a couple of these so-called shooting stars, but they're not stars. They're just debris that came out of, get a load of this, the most famous of all comets, Halley's Comet. So enjoy the Eta Aquariid meteor shower, but as we move further and further or deeper and deeper into the year of 2026, let me mention some of the highlighted meteor showers that are actually going to be very good for this particular year. The big daddy of meteor showers is the Perseids. On the evening of the 11th and into the morning of the 12th, there will be no moon in the sky for the annual Perseids. That takes place, as I mentioned, around the 11th and 12th of August. Why is it a good one? Because many people are on vacation, or if you're not, even city dwellers might still see a few of these Perseids. They all come from debris from comets when the comet orbit crosses the Earth. And another big one that will be actually good is up until December the 14th, when we get the annual Geminid meteor shower, a winter shower, of course, but usually a lot colder, so take advantage of the warm weather. Once again, if you have an email that you'd like to send me regarding any of these subjects, my email is drsky@wabcradio.com. And here's a couple of tips. If you want to get involved in looking at Earth satellites, we recommend a couple of websites. Heavens-above.com. Plug in your city and it'll tell you instantaneously what satellites you can see. The space station, the Chinese Tiangong, the Hubble Space Telescope, and a plethora of other satellites in the heavens. And then a good one that we recommend, a couple of them, is spaceweather.com, because remember, the sun is still belching out a number of solar flares, so solar activity ain't done yet, as they might say, and those can affect communications on the Earth, and so on and so forth. And one of my favorites as we close out this episode, the May 2026 Dr. Sky Experience Update of the Sky, is a website called theskylive.com. Use it often, because I think it's one of them that if there were awards given for these websites, and I'm sure there are somewhere, theskylive.com is one of our favorites. Clear skies, health and happiness. We'll see you on the radio with great topics as you tell us from the realms of astronomy, space, aviation and weather, and so much more here on the Powerhouse WABC. Talk Radio 77, as I like to call it, the big powerhouse blowtorch signal that comes from New York City to the world. Have a great week.
WABC and Bergen Newbridge Medical Center honor the life of legendary broadcaster and our friend, Ernie Anastas.
Hi, it's Ernie Anastas. You know, your thoughts can affect how you feel. Bergen Newbridge Medical Center is the largest hospital in New Jersey, providing comprehensive, equitable, compassionate, and high-quality emergency inpatient and outpatient medical care, plus mental health services and substance use disorder treatment. The Bergen Newbridge team can address your total health needs in one convenient location. Call 201-225-7130 for an appointment or newbridgehealth.org.